This is the fifth session in the series on the Four Noble Truths. In this session, we'll explore the third noble truth, that there's an end of suffering. So just as a quick recap, I won't go into detail here. You can go back and look at the other sessions if you want more detail. But basically, the first noble truth was the truth of suffering due to clinging. Second noble truth was what causes the clinging. It's a particular form of desire, not all desires, but a particular strong form of desire, craving. The literal translation, the word in Pali, the Pali word is tanha, and the literal translation is thirst. So that's kind of, it's not just desire, but it's must have or have to have, that level of craving, which leads to the clinging and the suffering. So then the third noble truth is conceptually quite simple. It states that there is an end to suffering by putting an end to tanha, an end to craving. And conceptually, that's quite simple, but I think it can be deceptively or confoundingly simple, because if you have enough mindfulness to know what's happening in any moment, and of course everything we're doing depends on being aware as opposed to being lost and caught up in things. That's going to come into the fourth noble truth. When we explore the way, we cultivate qualities, so we are more present and mindful, and we have more tools that we've strengthened to actualize what we're talking about. But we'll pause right here with the third noble truth. Try it out for yourself when you can remember. Check in with what's going on. You will notice that you may say, well, that's a good idea to let go of my craving. And it doesn't take long to see that you can't do it. I mean, of course, you can do it in certain circumstances, but all it takes is the right causes and conditions to come along, and you're caught right back in. And that's natural, right? Of course, when there are difficulties and they're strong, we want to get away from them, or we want to get them away from us. So we recognize that, and we appreciate that there are the times, of course, when we have to change our circumstances, bring down the intensity of the difficulty, if we're fortunate enough to be in a circumstance when we can. Of course, there are plenty of times when things are happening and we cannot influence what's going on, and then we're kind of have to find a way to be with what's happening. Because for any situation or any experience, if what is happening is really too much for us, we need to either be able to bring the intensity down to where we can work with it and be with it and let it be, or we better find some way to bring up our ability to meet that circumstance. That's really the training of the Eightfold Path, which is the fourth noble truth. If we can't rise up to meet it or bring the intensity down, then that really is a lot of suffering, and we will all have times like that, and we need a lot of compassion and empathy for those times. So we recognize that it can be like that. But there are a lot of ways which we can make big improvements in our abilities to find more liberation and freedom in the midst of any experience. And we just start where we're at. So if you have the luxury or the good fortune to not be working with something that's so intense, we start with what we can work with in our normal everyday lives. And then we don't have to wait until we get to the fourth noble truth to find the path and the way. Right here, let's pause into the third noble truth. We can bring our mindful awareness and check out the situation right then. Sometimes all that's needed is to shine the light of mindfulness, or you could say the light of awareness, to what is happening. We notice our experience, and then it can be useful to check in not only what is happening in the moment, but how are we relating. Actually purposely notice, how am I relating, or how am I being with or not able to be with whatever's going on. And if there's not much happening, then it might be hard to notice, but especially when situations are stronger, we can easily see what's going on. Maybe there's a strong, maybe you're sitting in meditation, you're cross-legged, some posture, and you've been sitting for a while and your back aches or your knee hurts. There's a real pain and suffering. We can pay attention to it and notice. You don't have to, obviously there's times when you want to change your posture to take care of yourself. Sometimes it can be useful, just using this example, to pause for a few moments before you move your knee and just to hang out, even if it's just briefly, and just notice, am I being with this? How can I be with this? That's just an example. We can use any situations from any aspect of our daily lives. Pay attention, notice, and it's giving us information. Again, shining the light of awareness on it may be enough to notice, and we see what we're doing before maybe we were caught up in it. We can let go around it. But for the times that it's more difficult, that's giving us information. It's actually, we're not doing anything wrong. So we don't want to get caught up in judging ourselves or in a battle thinking we should be able to be with something. That word should, I think, is best left aside. But just to notice, can we or can't we, without a judgment? And if we're not, just take it as a teaching. It's saying, oh, here's a situation in my life that is difficult and hard for me. And then see, can I let go around it a little bit? If not, then we know it's an area that maybe more practice, more work, more time, whatever is needed. We need, we're not there yet. We recognize there might be times when it's hard to let go of that craving, but we can do it a lot more than we think often. And one thing that can also help us is going back to intention. So, for example, if a situation comes where you find ill will or difficult feelings, anger towards, say, another person or another situation come up in your mind and in your heart, remembering your intention can come in right then and help you, because if we let how we feel about something determine how we act or respond, well, moods and emotions and feelings come and go. So that's not a very stable, reliable resource to help us. But if you remember, just for example, let's just say you have an intention where you want to have a more kind or empathetic or compassionate mind and heart more of the time, even during the times when you may not feel like it in the moment, because that person really did do something difficult and challenging, doesn't mean we don't take care of ourselves or set boundaries or have reasons that can, really aren't okay in certain circumstances. But there are plenty of times when we can pause, hang back, check in, and have our feelings. This is just checking in right there in the Third Noble Truth. There's some tanha, meaning I really do not like this very strongly, or I really am craving and after wanting it more strongly. Either way, noticing how it affects us. And then see, can I let my intention, I really have an intention to not be driven by this and want to let go around it more. We see, does that help us or not? Again, if we can't do it, if it's too hard, we're not ready yet or able, we recognize that. And, we just do the best we can. This idea of doing the best we can, I think, is so important because, if we could, in any situation, if we could do things better, we would. And we often judge ourselves by saying, well, I'm too lazy, or I don't have the resources, or I can't, or if you could do it better, you would. So knowing we're doing the best we can, and that really is enough. And the whole path of practice is deepening and strengthening the natural abilities we have to rest more equanimous without the clinging. Even when craving arises, sometimes just getting that wedge of mindfulness between the craving before it goes into clinging can help us, and we're able to do that more. Or we have to back up and before something happens, we have an experience. We see something, hear something, think something, feel something in the body, whatever it is, before it goes over into craving. that's a place also we can sometimes get our wedge of mindfulness right in there and just be aware of what's happening without it falling into the craving. So these are some of the ways we might play around with working with using the third noble truth. And so next time as we start in on the fourth noble truth, and that will be we'll set that up as a whole separate series, because the fourth noble truth is traditionally laid out as what's called the Eightfold Path. There's 8 elements of practice. It includes all the meditative practices and some other things that we can cultivate. That is the part that's strengthening our natural ability to actualize all the things I've been talking about now.